Welcome to the podcast that buffs your Hearthstone game. This is Velen's Chosen.
Not all who wander are lost.
Greetings, visionaries, and welcome to Velen's Chosen. Whether you're a competitive player, an arena specialist, a deck-building visionary, or just like having a bit of fun, we can help you buff your game and achieve your Hearthstone goals. I'm Grant Gould, and joining me from across the North American continent is your friend and mine, Eve Martin. How you doing tonight, Eve?
I did a thing, Grant.
What'd you do?
I resubbed to World of Warcraft.
Gasp.
Dun dun dun.
Really? Oh, yeah? So what's the name of your first character?
Kaylee.
Nice.
It's the name of my daughter.
And what class is the character?
Okay, you can guess.
A paladin.
Yes.
Yes. If I had said anything else, would you have been like, do you even know me?
Yeah, maybe. I might have. I might have been like, aw.
I was so happy I got it right. Oh
You
my
did.
gosh.
You did. So for those of you who don't know, Classic WoW launched, was it 2 days ago, I think?
Yeah.
And everybody just sort of stormed the beaches trying to get in. And I just kind of was like,
Put it mildly.
should I? Like, why would I even? Well, maybe just to check it out and see. And yeah, that was an experience for sure.
Okay, is it good? Do you like playing it, or is it too different, or is it exactly the same but in like maybe the bad ways that you remember it, or you miss the new updates?
Well, I am so used to playing like the advanced World of Warcraft, which, by the way, now all those people are calling it retail World of Warcraft. That's like the new shorthand for the other one, because this one is like the original, the OG vanilla World of Warcraft.
Retail.
So they started calling the other one, the hated one, retail World of Warcraft, which is interesting.
Why? How is it retail? I don't know.
I don't know. Like, maybe because I think a lot of money ruined it? I don't know. Maybe I'll have to ask somebody. Why are we calling it retail World of Warcraft? Anyway.
I'm sure somebody knows.
The experience is really weird right now because there's so many people in there. So
Sure.
When you start the opening zone, there's so many people in the opening zone that everyone is kind of fighting for the quest mobs.
Oh, I hate that. That's so tedious.
So you like stand in your corner where there's like a bunch of dead bodies of kobolds, and you're like waiting for the next one to respawn so you can hit it as fast as you can before somebody else tags it. But people are really friendly and helpful in chat, which is the most amazing thing, because the big outcry of like why they wanted to make Classic again was way back in Classic you didn't have all of these looking for group and all of these different ways to match you up with random strangers. You had to actually go into the chat and say, I need help with this. Who would like to help me with this? And I thought maybe people would be disappointed if we went back to vanilla, because it was always very nostalgic. And remember back in the day when we did it this way? And I thought when they actually got what they asked for, it wouldn't be what they thought it was going to be. But it kind of is. Like, the chat is full of new people going, I don't know where to go for this quest. And like 3 people immediately answering right away. Go here, do this thing. This is how you do it. It's just like super helpful, super social. There's a couple of bad apples. You know, they always are going in, yo mama and things like that. But I tweeted out this morning that Elwyn chat, which is like the forest at the very beginning of the human starting zone, is like the most helpful chat I've ever experienced in any game ever.
Really?
Yeah, I had like a question about where to go to learn mining, and like 3 people immediately. And then, even after they answered my question, a couple people whispered me, which is like a direct person to person,
Sure.
to kind of give me more details, to tell me even how much it was going to cost to level up my mining and all of these other things. I was just like, wow, overwhelmed with the helpfulness and the. I think also people who know a lot about the game love to share their knowledge.
Sure.
Like, I know
Well,
the answer
hey.
to that question.
There's a crap ton to know about that game. I mean, if you've never, that's one of the things that. Shoot, hang on a second. Just blipped Eve right off. Hang on a second.
I'm here.
You're still there. That's the cool thing about Discord is I can accidentally close the window, and still we can maintain the call.
Oh, nice. Yes, good.
It doesn't actually close the app, or it doesn't close the connection. So, yeah, if you've ever played World of Warcraft, there's so much to know if you just diving in, and like Eve's a veteran and still asking questions, So it's cool that people are being nice and are like letting you know and go here, go there. And if you have a good guide, it's really nice to have, especially if you do it like one-on-one with a friend or something.
I couldn't remember like what was key to the original game and what was added in later expansion. So I was like, when do we get our mount? And they're like, level 40. And it was like, what? That means for 40 levels, you have to run everywhere.
Which takes forever.
Yes, it does. And in like the retail World of Warcraft, I think you get it at like level 20 or something. And you can even buy mounts earlier than that to like carry your friends around. Like if you introduce somebody to World of Warcraft and you want them to play with you and not run anywhere, there's mounts with like sidecars that they can just jump in and you can like take them everywhere. So yeah, most of my questions were, how does this differ from retail World of Warcraft? And are these in the game? Are these in the game? And most of the answers were no. All of that is not in the game. You have to do everything. So I don't know how long I'm going to play. I just subbed month to month just in case I get tired of it and stop playing. But it's kind of interesting. I immediately ran into Archbishop Benedictus. I was like, Hearthstone card! So
in classic WoW, no less.
Yep.
That's great.
So I'll let you know how it goes if I run into any more Hearthstone cards.
It's like, I know you. Well, this is a good bit of news that we've been kind of hoping for. I think some of us were right about things.
Yes.
At least in terms of what was going to get nerfed. But I got to say, I don't think it was that big of a stretch. I don't think we were doing anything that was truly clairvoyant.
Well, there's always that outlier that they nerf that you're like, what? Why did they nerf that card? And there was one of those, at least for me. Like, did you see it coming?
Well, no, they all made sense to me. Everything made sense to me. Yeah. Okay, well, what do you want to start with? Do you want to just start with the more mundane things before we get to the nerfs?
Yeah, sure. So they were talking a little bit more about Tombs of Terror, which is coming up in 4 weeks. Actually, it should be 3 weeks now, right? Because I said 4 weeks last week.
Sure.
So they're doing 2 tavern brawls leading up to it. League of Explorers Revived. It's a different sort of dungeon run, shorter, more narrative focused, new encounters that are closer to the original League of Explorers adventure. We wanted to experiment and see what we could do with the format. No speedrun, no timed rewards, just a few neat fights and free packs. You'll get your weekly pack just for playing once. So
I like it. Sounds good to me.
For week 1, you're going to get a classic card pack for participating in the Tavern Brawl. And I think this is really cool of them because a lot of times when you have the weird Tavern Brawls for the expansions, you don't get that classic pack. You get a pack from the most recent expansion, which is cool. But there's always going to be those people who are like, I want my classic pack because I'm trying to get my full collection. And they complain about that. So you're going to get a classic card pack and a Saviors of Oldham card pack for doing each Tavern Brawl
good to me.
each week. And you just have to participate. You don't have
just
to win.
for playing it, you don't have to win, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's very nice of them.
So that's for
two?
week 1 and week 2. You're going to be getting a classic card pack, and a Saviors of Oldham card pack. And the legendary quests are going to replace existing daily quests. When they give you a legendary quest that says, participate in the Tavern Brawl, get a Saviors of Oldham card pack. So make sure, like as we say every time, you have an open slot. Otherwise, it's going to replace one of your quests.
Yeah, like usual. Nothing new or unordinary here. Out of the ordinary, I mean.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I really liked the last time they did something like this with Tavern Brawl. It's probably one of the times I tend to play Tavern Brawl just for fun and play it a bunch. Otherwise, I just try hard, get my pack, and then I quit. Don't do it again. So I like it when the Tavern Brawls are super fun. All right. Well, Tavern Brawl isn't usually big news, but I'll tell you what is big news. Card nerfs. Oh boy, howdy. Did they nerf stuff? Now, I don't think, and you'll probably, just foreshadowing here, I don't think that they nerfed anything into the ground, but I think they nerfed it to the point where nobody really wants to play it. If that's splitting hairs too much, I understand. But what do you think, Eve? Just kind of initial impressions before we get into the nitty gritty.
Well, to be honest with you, my initial impressions of Boom were he wasn't nerfed enough, but only time will tell with that one. I know that they still want him to be viable. They still want people to use him for Control Warrior. So I understand that they're probably going to do him by degrees. Like if he continues to be totally overpowered, they can always nerf him again, but they're not going to be too heavy with the banhammer because people really like playing him. He's really popular. So I get it.
Yeah. Well, so in case you're wondering what we're talking about, so there was a bunch of cards that we'd been kind of tired of seeing, I guess you could say, in the meta. And you yourself were probably tired of seeing them, listener. We'll just kind of tick them off. Basically, the Cliff Notes version is Conjurer's Calling, mage card that basically gives a bunch of giants and grave horrors, basically what it ended up doing, now costs 4 mana, up from 3. So it's going to limit the amount of ridiculous stuff they can do in a turn with their mountain giants. Luna's Pocket Galaxy is back up to its original cost at 7 mana, and it was at 5. When they first printed the card, it was 7 mana, and then they had like the Rise of the Mechs, and they said, let's drop it down to 5. And everybody was like, yay, this is so fun. And like all things, it ran its course. It needed to be back up to 7 again because it was showing up in tournaments and games were turning into whoever got Luna's Pocket Galaxy out first would win. Dr. Boom Mad Genius, we've been clamoring for this one to get a nerf forever. Most people had been saying that they wanted it to take the rush off the mechs or something like that. But instead, they just made the mana cost go up to 9 from 7, so it costs 9. So if you're playing like an aggro deck, you actually have a much better chance if they have Boom in hand to take them out. Extra Arms Priest card now costs 3, up from 2, which gives like a buff, and then it goes back in your hand. You can do it again. I'm not surprised at this one because Inner Fire Priest this card could abuse that, and that's not fun for anybody to do it so cheap. And then Barnes, wild card, now costs 5, up from 4. We've been talking about Barnes forever in the wild format, how Barnes on 4 just seems to be just completely unfair most of the time.
Well, I'm really curious to know whether you think that this will actually have an effect on the card at all.
I don't know that it'll have much of an effect, to be honest. I mean, if you're playing any kind of slow deck and they get Barnes in opening hand, they play them on 5, whatever. I mean, it keeps them from playing them on 3 if they have coin. You know what I mean? I'm not sure that that's enough for Barnes. I think... and really, Barnes isn't necessarily even the issue. It's the large pool of resurrection effects that are just way too efficient and are way too cheap. You know what I mean? So Barnes, gets you the 1/1 Yashiraj. You kill it, but then for 2 mana, they can summon Yashiraj and do other things, and then it makes it busted. So it's really the res spells and the diamond spellstones and the resurrects and the and those types of cards that are really probably the bigger issue. They would, but I think in order to change those cards, they would actually have to just nerf them into something completely different and change that mechanic altogether. And I just don't know that they're willing to do that or spend the time on it, considering it's wild and not standard. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, so the official explanation.
Yeah.
While Conjurer's Calling is a powerful tool that's found in a number of mage decks, when used in decks focused around cards like Mountain Giant and Sea Giant, it was creating extremely powerful board states at a point in the game where opponents didn't have effective answers. So that's always kind of been one of the things they jump on fast, is if it happens too early, before you could reasonably have something to deal with it.
Yeah.
Increasing the mana cost of this card will make using both copies of the Twin Spell card in a single turn significantly more difficult, postponing these potentially overwhelming turns until later in the game when the mage's opponent has more available resources to react to the board. I mean, I still think using it once and getting two big things immediately is difficult, but I guess that's not a concern.
What it's stopping you from doing is getting a Mountain Giant out for 3 mana and then conjuring it for another 3 mana on turn 6 or turn 5 with the coin. You know what I mean? That's what it's stopping you from doing. A 4 mana spell now makes it a lot more difficult to do it. So it does buy you a turn or two. So if you are playing a little bit faster, because what would happen is you'd play against Mage and they just kind of manage you a little bit and not do a lot. And then they would just do that and put up a wall of, giants and stuff so unless you could kill them, you're dead. You can't deal with that much stats so quickly before turn 10, really, so that makes sense.
So with Luna's Pocket Galaxy, they were happy with a lot of the things that they buffed, and they said that they would rather do this. They would rather take big risks and then dial things back down than have a game that's, boring. So I agree, because they did nerf it pretty quickly in reaction to, public outcry.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I never really had much of and maybe I wasn't playing high level tournament play, but Luna's Pocket Galaxy never really bugged me, because even though at turn 5 they would play it, you're still taking a turn off just to do a thing, it could be really powerful if you, for some reason, played Luna's Pocket Galaxy and then pulled Alexstrasza, Antonidas, and then a spell or two, and you could just kill them in a turn, if you did that. But it was, I didn't have too much issue with it. But I 100% agree. I love the idea of, let's nerf something, make it probably a little broken on the broken side of things, let it run its course, and then just change it. I'm totally down with that. Kind of the art of the possible in Hearthstone is a thing that is something that's the world I want to live in for Hearthstone. As long as they're willing to keep, an ear to the ground and when it's kind of run its course, then okay, going back to 7 or whatever the cost would be.
I think the reason that Luna's Pocket Galaxy worked is because they have, like you say, all those control cards, all those freeze cards, all those mana cards. So at 5, it was doable for them to play that in one turn and do nothing else, because they have Frost Nova, because they have Blizzard, because all of those things. So
Ray of Frost is a big one now.
Yeah. Like, without those stall cards that they have, Luna's Pocket Galaxy wouldn't have been anything.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. A different variation on Freeze Mage has sort of, minus Ice Block, has sort of shown up in the meta.
It made me feel like that. Like, if they can get to their end game, which is basically, Antonidas Fireballs or Calic Ghosts, or, do crazy things if they just stall you out. So, and Dr. Boom. We'd still like Dr. Boom Mad Genius to be a great option for Control Warrior decks looking to close out games, but right now the card gets played a bit too early. Increasing the mana cost to 9 should make it more difficult to find a good turn to play Dr. Boom, giving opponents time to make powerful plays as well. Which is true, because when you drop him, you are just dropping him and doing nothing else on a turn. Like you said, Luna's Pocket Galaxy, you're doing nothing else on that turn. So on turn 9, if your opponent is doing a whole lot of stuff and all you're going to do is drop Dr. Boom and not be able to do anything else, that is going to take it down in power quite a bit.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it could be. I think it's still a good card. Not sure what it'll pan out. I haven't seen much Warrior on the ladder. I don't know about you, but I'm glad for that, because warrior just means, one, it's my least favorite class, but two, it's like, all right, it's going to be a long game because I'm playing warrior, unless for some reason it's a non-control warrior or non-bomb warrior or something like that. But, the next one is, during the rise of the mech event, Priest was one of the weaker classes in the game. Buffing extra arms gave Priest a powerful spell for the early game to enable some of their board-focused strategies. With the release of Saviors of Oldham, Priest has access to many more powerful early game minions and has seen a large jump in both popularity and win rate. Between all of Priest's buff spells and heal effects, it can be hard to fight for the board against them early in the game. Increasing the mana cost of extra arms back to 3 should give room for other decks to challenge them early on, while leaving the powerful Priest minions and combos untouched.
Remember Valen's Chosen?
Yeah, Valen's Chosen was a great card.
Yeah, like that
Back
was
in the day.
used a lot early game too, because it was such a good value for the card. And this, like, extra arms kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without
Well,
the spell
Priest could be
damage.
more viable. I mean, we could talk about it after, the meta in a minute, but I think Priest is a lot better than it was, considering the nerfs at large. So
I think the things they've talked about with Priest is that they're concerned about the things that it's strong at feel bad for the rest of the community.
to play against,
Yeah. So it's either weak and it does nothing, or it has, inner fire decks that don't feel good, because it's like, I have to remove every minion they ever put out because they're all the possible inner fire combo enabler. And then the resurrect stuff that they do. We need to find something for Priest to do that is not, doubling health.
Inner fire.
Yeah.
Doubling health and smashing you in the dome.
Or resurrecting massive minions.
I mean, because if you think about it, that's the thing that I hate probably the most about what Priest has done for its existence is they find minions that are relatively cheap, that have a big butt on them, and they put it out. You know that you can't leave it there or you're dead, and so you have to use a lot of resources to take out the big butt, and then you do it again and again. Eventually, they have one you can't take out, and then they just flop all these spells on it, and you're dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That feels super bad to play against, because a reasonably weak minion should not be something you have to always deal with. Like, that age-old struggle between, okay, now I'm just going to start going phase because that's what you do, because it would actually be a mistake to trade. But when you're playing against Priest, you kind of have to. Yeah. And being forced to trade is not a fun way to play. Yeah. I don't think, all the time. So, anyways.
The only other person I can think of that does that is Rogue. They always had their combo and give things a lot of attack and hit you in the dome with them.
Yeah, Rogue, you do have to watch that too.
But nowadays, with the magnetic, Hunter does it too. You leave a single mech on their board and they can magnetize, and suddenly that thing's like a 13-14 and hitting you in the face.
Yeah. Especially later in the game, that's for sure.
Ugh.
But I think Priest is probably the one where you just know it's coming, because all Inner Fire, all that stuff, Divine Spirit, all that stuff, they're cheap. And keeping extra arms cheap makes it even worse. So, because it does have Twin Spell on it. So
what do they say about Barnes?
I'm curious.
Barnes has been a hot topic in Wild format discussions for quite some time now, especially regarding how oppressive this card can feel when facing certain Priest decks.
Yeah.
Is it in any other deck except for Priest?
No. Well, there was that Hunter deck where it was just that and Yashiraj, and so you just play a bunch of spells and you get Barnes and you always get Yashiraj, and you just high roll people and kill them. But that's about it, really.
Because Yashiraj would pull out Yashiraj.
Yeah. Copy of Yashiraj would pull out Yashiraj, and it just kind of felt bad. Real bad. You almost always lost that game.
While we're okay with Wild having a high power level in general, Barnes stood out as too consistently powerful early in the game. Increasing his mana cost by 1 will let opponents have an easier time reacting, but still let Barnes retain its identity as a way to summon specific minions early in the game.
That's like saying the obvious. That's like that says almost nothing to me about how that's going to help. You know what I mean?
Giving you one more turn to deal with it.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, I'm not sure that one turn is enough. You know what I mean? Because what comes after that turn on Barnes is that what's that 6 cost spell that summons a minion for 5/5? I always blank on its name. I want to call it Shadow Essence, but that's not what it is.
No, I think it is.
Is it Shadow Essence?
Yeah,
What's
let
the
me
one
look.
that's the spell the one that discovers a spell? The 2-cost one. I always forget. I always get those two screwed up, and I know I've said it wrong on the show before. But that card, the 6-cost card that summons one of those, that's coming your way. And once that ball gets rolling, once Barnes or the summon the minion out of your deck 5/5 cost, once that gets going, it's not about those cards anymore. It's about the res spells, discovering res spells, and being able just to do that pretty much until you run out of answers.
Yeah,
So-
it is Shadow Essence.
Oh, it is Shadow Essence. Okay, so Shadow Essence,
Summon
Make
a
Shadow
5/5
Essence
copy
cost
of
8.
a random minion in your deck.
make Shadow Essence cost 8, or make Diamond Spellstone cost 10, or make Resurrect cost 6 or 5 or something. You know what I mean? Because for the most part, those cards get used in that deck, and then they don't get used in a ton of other decks. So, and people have even been proving, traditionally it was been Yasharaj, Lich King, Ragnaros, Barnes, and let's see, am I leaving one out? I think those are the big ones. And then they started adding Vargoth, which made it really dumb. And then you just start seeing weird stuff. Like people just like, how good is this deck? Can I add just a random minion that's not a high-powered minion to cheat out and still win with it? And they do. So it's like, man, it's the resurrection spells. So they should have nerfed those. They could have left Barnes almost as is, or make Barnes like a turn 6 card. That way you're choosing that in Shadow Essence. So we'll see.
Yeah, so the reason you were getting confused is because the other card is called Shadow Visions.
Visions, Shadow Essence, Shadow Visions. Yeah.
Yeah.
All those shadowy cards. It's hard to see in the dark, Eve.
It's hilarious. Okay,
But
so
I think overarching, I'm glad they're at least touching it, and I'm really glad for the standard nerfs. I think it's gonna allow for other decks to be decent. Like, for example, my favorite deck of the set is Quest Druid. I love Quest Druid. It's my favorite.
have you been playing that a lot? How's that doing?
I've been playing a lot this week. I'm probably pushing mid-50s, 60% win rate. So if I were to play it a lot, I've been playing like a much more greedy one that runs King Pharaohs, and I actually put Elysiana in it, and I put it's got Floodgates, or the one that like heals everything for 5 and draws 5 cards for 7. And I've also put and I put, of course, Zephyrus in it and whatnot. But it's just a slightly more greedy Quest Druid, and I like it. And it's got Nomi in it, so that's one of the reasons why you're running. I mean, you draw through your deck like nobody's business. So it's sort of fitting the archetype that Blizzard sort of prescribed they wanted Druid to be able to do, draw through your deck real fast, which you can. But if you can draw through your deck, play Nomi, make them have to deal with it, and then put Elysiana in your deck, then you don't die.
Man,
so
it's like you're playing
greedy.
Warrior but Druid.
Yeah, it's kind of that minus all the armor, and you can certainly die very quick if your opponent gets if you play Zoo, you just lose. Paladin, Resurrect Paladin, or what is it? Quest Paladin is pretty dumb.
Copy
Quest
Paladin or whatever. Yeah. Reborn.
Yeah, it's just, it can be gross, but it does seem to hold up pretty well. And I think now that Warrior's not really hanging around, because you could beat Warrior with it, but there's not much. But Warrior could just, if they played it well and they had the answers, you just couldn't win. Although now with my greedier deck, I probably could.
Maybe we could do that one
of-
next week, because I actually saw, I was looking for Firebat's list of Hunter, which is what I'm going to talk about today, but he also has a really good one for Quest Druid.
Yeah.
So I wonder if...
I love Quest Druid.
I wonder if your deck is the same as his, because he's been talking about how it's so good.
It probably isn't.
83% win rate with Quest Token Druid at top 200 legend. That's what he was showing.
Well, it's also Firebat piloting it. So,
yes,
I mean,
'tis true. But
Quest
he had
token.
Nomi in it. And Cenarius? You got Cenarius in there?
I don't have it in mind, but Cenarius is really good in it, because you basically, for 9 mana, you get Cenarius' body plus 2/4/4s with taunt.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have minions on board, they get buffed, so you can just smash them in the dome and GG. I like it just because it's just kind of a different play style. Just floating mana. That's the technical term, right? Float mana means just don't use it.
Mm-hmm.
Floating mana is just an interesting way to play for me. But I liked that deck, and I really like Singleton Hunter deck because I love the brand card, the new brand card that draws out King Crush. It's just so fun.
It's how I got to rank 5 because I was getting really stuck on 6 over and over again with all of my, Paladin and Shaman decks. And so when I switched to Highlander Hunter, I made it to rank 5. Even though I felt like
I used the same. I used the Highlander Hunter too. I did too. It worked great. I mean, I crushed it from 7. I borrowed Sidisi's list, so thanks Sidisi. Much appreciate your list, bro. I used his list and just crushed it. This is like
King crushed
easy.
it.
King crushed it. Yeah. Oh, I see what you did there. But the cool thing is like I'd play that deck, and because Hunter cards are just individually so powerful, and if you play them and sequence them right and think about your plays well, it just felt like you could come back. By the way, Zul'jin is really good in a Singleton deck. Like Zul'jin makes the deck possible.
If you can play your Wyverns
himself.
Before you play him.
I think even before that, just because the secrets are so good and powerful,
Wyverns,
like that,
Animal Companions.
Yep, Wyverns. I mean, all the secrets, Deadly Shots. That card, what is it? The card the Hunter's card that's 3 cost that draws you a weapon, a secret, and a beast.
I didn't have that in my. Is that good?
That card's good. Like, I think that card's surprisingly good. You get a lot of value because you get it, and you're gonna get, there's only a handful of Hunter weapons you're gonna get. So I think it's better in Standard than in Wild for sure. You get Gladiator's Bow with that thing. You're like, okay, cool. I can clear some minions with this and survive a little longer. Or you get Eaglehorn Bow and it works with all your secrets. And I mean, one time I won a game because I pulled a King Crush out of that. I think it's like a Hunter's Pack or something like that. I don't remember what it's called. I got a King Crush and my opponent didn't know. I was just going face because I knew I was going to be able to use it. So brand King Crush on 7, wait a couple turns, and then do the other King Crush on turn 9.
It's a beast, a secret, and a weapon, right?
Yeah, it's a beast, a secret, and a weapon. And then when you cast Zul'jin, he casts it again, so you get 3 more cards.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it always seems to be pretty good. So I like those decks a lot, and those will be the decks I start because we're at the end of the month. Those will be the decks I play at the beginning of the month. Maybe some Paladin. I like to Quest Paladin a lot. So,
well, I played a lot of the decks that I really liked and was losing constantly to Hunter, so it felt like I was joining the enemy team. So when I saw a new and very different list from Firebat, and I love Firebat, like he makes the kinds of decks that I just really am drawn to. I was like, yes, cool. Yeah. I can play something and not feeling like I'm playing, just basic Hunter that's out there right now.
Yeah.
So he's got Quest Hunter with Unseal the Vault. So when you complete the quest, which is 20 minions, you have to play 20 minions, which is a big draw, by the way. That is not easy. It's like the Warlock one where you have to draw 20 cards, except for they can probably get to theirs before you get to yours. Your hero power becomes give all your minions +2 attack.
Sure.
Permanently. So Spring Pause, really good because the 1 mana with Rush, and then it puts another copy of itself in your hand is really good.
So 3 1s with Rush for 1.
He's got 2 belligerent gnomes in there, which is something that I hadn't seen up until that point. But
I like belligerent gnome.
If your opponent has 2 or more minions, it gives it +2 attack, and it already has Taunt. I think it's like a 1/4 to start out with Taunt, and then if it gets +2 attack, it's really good. Direwolf Alpha, obviously, because you got all these little mini tokens with Rush, and you just want to give them that much more attack. Knife Juggler, because if you can get that out ahead of, like, Unleash the Hounds, or another card that you basically use to win this quest is Swarm of Locusts. Which is cast, or summon 7 locusts with Rush. They're all 1/1s. You do that twice. And that's 14 right there. And also that can, like, after the quest is done, if you play Swarm of Locusts and then you give them all +2 attack, you can, like, remove whatever board and then have enough next time that you're just going to dome them. Houndmaster Flark, which is, I believe, a 5/5 body, and then he summons 4 of the 0/2 bombs. But if you put him out and then hero power, now all of them have +2 attack. Ziliax, of course. Leroy Jenkins. So the difference between, like, he started playing with this one deck, and then as he was, like, going through the ranks of Legend, he started kind of subbing out some things and subbing in something. So he started out with Ursatron in the deck and Houndmaster Shaw and Sea Giant, but he ended up taking those out and instead putting in Snake Trap, which is really good because it always gets you 3 snakes.
Yeah.
Desert Spear.
It summons minions for you, so does it count towards the quest?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Desert Spear because when
locust,
you attack,
right?
exactly, and it's got 3 attack or 3 durability. Yeah, so that's 3 of the locusts with Rush. And Cult Master, because I put him down right before I trade and just draw cards. So that always helped me. And then Halazzi I've only used like twice because it's really hard to drop it on 5.
Yeah.
Unless you've completely been emptying your hand. You kind of want to get the value of all the links as you can, but then you know you're going to overdraw next turn 1, and you don't know what that card's going to be. And you feel real bad if it's like a Leroy Jenkins.
Sure. So it's a later game card, but it makes Knife Juggler late game much better.
Oh, yeah.
If you need reach or something.
Bone Wraith, just for like survivability if you're up against another aggro deck. Unleash the Hounds, of course. Snip Snap, Animal Companion. Sun Fury Protector, also for survivability. Questing Explorer, because Questing Explorer is just 2 of in any quest deck, right off the bat. Yeah, so...
I wonder why he wanted... Maybe he didn't put Defender of Argus for buffs. Because he only has 2 4-cost minions, or 4 4-costs if you count doubles. But
because multiple times I saw him just drop Sun Fury Protector on 2, if he didn't have anything to buff it up to just have a body.
So just as a 2/3 body?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just to trade with things, just to have something on the board, if he had nothing else,
Okay, cool. Yeah. Eve, you're doing the Dexplanation of the Week this week. I'm loving this. This is great.
I just had a ton of fun with it because people aren't expecting it right now at the rank I'm playing at. I don't think they know how to play against it.
No.
And if they don't remove your minions and you have that hero power out, I think they don't realize that at that point you're like Druid. You're like, you don't want to leave their minions on the board, people.
Yeah. No, definitely not.
Because the amount of damage...
I didn't know you had the Hunter quest. You had the Hunter quest? Or
no, I did not. So here's what happened. I nerfed all of the cards, or I dusted all of the nerfed cards.
Uh-huh.
Every single one of them. And then with that dust, I was able to craft... I didn't have Halazzi the links, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for it. And I crafted Halazzi and the quest. And then I think there was something in there that I didn't have as well. Swarm of Locusts, I think. I only had 1 of or something.
Yeah.
It's not too expensive compared to...
It's just a rare, isn't it?
Swarm of Locusts?
Yeah.
Maybe.
You're talking about the overall deck price, though.
Yeah.
Let me see. So let's see. Spring Paws common, Unseal the Vaults legendary, Belligerent Gnomes common, Direwolves common, Knife Jugglers rare. Questing Explorer is a great rare card. Snake Traps epic. Sun Fury Protector I believe is
rare.
I won't say rare, but I can't remember. Animal Companions, just
basic
class card. Desert Spear is I want to say common. Snip Snaps legendary, but everybody has that. Bone Wraith, I believe, is...
I think it's a rare.
Rare common, yeah. Cult Masters, I think rare. Halazzi's legendary. So you have a bunch of legendaries here at the bottom, though. Halazzi, Leroy, Ziliax, Boommaster.
Yeah, I feel like Ziliax, a lot of people have crafted at this point, and if not, it's a pretty safe craft. Leroy Jenkins has been around forever, so if you opened up a bunch of packs, even from
You'd
Brawl,
likely have it.
You may have him. And if you like aggro, you have him. So Boommaster Flark would probably be the one that you would need to craft.
The outlier.
And of course,
with
Unseal
Halazzi.
the Vault.
And Halazzi. A lot of
Well,
people don't have
Halazzi isn't in his other list.
Yeah,
So if you
that's
don't
true.
have it and you don't want to craft it, you can put in 2 Sea Giants. If you have it, you could put in Houndmaster Shaw.
Yeah, Houndmaster would be good in this too. Or Ursatron just for card
Or
draw.
Ursatron.
Ursatron's just good.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
Ursatron's
kind
a
of
super good card.
right now, the different things that you can do if you don't have all those legendaries.
Oh, I'm totally going to try this deck. This actually looks really fun. And I'm kind of interested to toy around with the Hunter quest. Because I've been really toying with the idea of just not playing Warrior ever again. Now that I've gotten my 500 wins with it, just not playing it because I don't enjoy it per se. Although I did enjoy the taunt enough to get it, but like, okay, Warrior can be good. I don't really care. I'll play something else. You know what I mean? And Hunter, I do enjoy.
Yeah, I need to play with it a bit more because I'm not sure that all of my plays are optimal. I don't really know whether, to play Snip Snap when you have it or to really wait and to get the full value out of it because when they die and they pop out their little mini bots,
Macrobots.
yeah, those count towards the quest.
Yeah.
So it's
They
summon.
do.
So pretty much anything that you can create. If you get something that has reborn and it pops out something else, it counts toward the quest. So
Yeah,
It's
it looks
fun.
cool. It just looks like a very board centric deck that has sort of like a payoff for. The only thing I can see as being a disadvantage with the quest is like a deck like this. You do have some decent, Spring Pawn 1 is not a bad play. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like almost kind of like a straddles like mid rangey / aggro. Like it can be aggro if you really want to, but it reminds me a lot of kind of mid range druid a little bit.
It is because like you can actually win without completing the quest.
Oh yeah, I'll bet you can.
You
'Cause
start
Hunter
off
can just
so
push
fast,
damage.
and if you just keep going face and pressing that hero power, sometimes you can just beat them.
So you didn't find having to play the quest on turn 1 really getting in the way of that usual Hunter standard mode of play?
No, because if I have Spring Paw, there's 2 of them on turn 2.
That's true.
And you're kind of catching up really quick. And that'll remove anything that another aggro deck puts down on turn 1, like the Murloc with 2 health.
Yeah.
And also, what is it called? The weapon is super helpful to remove early. Desert Spear.
Desert Spear. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually much better than I think people will realize.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is a beast. So if you need a beast,
Mm-hmm.
for
Well-
some reason it gives you a beast.
Here's the thing, though. It doesn't have any spells except for the quest. Oh, and
Yeah,
Unleash
so
the
it's like-
Hounds and Animal Companion. Sorry, my bad.
So it's really like a Hunter Zoo deck is what it is.
Yeah. Like, Unleash the Hounds makes hounds, and Animal Companion makes an animal companion. Like, everything is very minion-centric, which is kind of my wheelhouse. So
Yeah,
you're not really
definitely.
afraid of, like, getting to a point and your big combo being blocked by Mage with Counterspell. Because everything is bodies. And you can always attack with something, trigger their do 3 damage to everything spell, and then start putting minions down.
Yeah, definitely.
Mage is like my big, if I can beat them with this deck, then it's a good deck, and I continue playing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm going to try this deck. This deck actually looks really interesting. It seems like a deck where you really have to know when to just stop trading and go face. Seems like.
Yeah, I know that I have so much burst late game that a lot of the
Yeah.
time I don't mind trading. Just to make sure that I get to that late game, especially against like a rogue, I'll trade a lot, and a druid, I'll
Yeah.
trade a lot. Because I know I have so much, like once I get that hero power out, I'm going to be doing so much damage. I'm not really worried about having enough left in the tank to close out the game, which is a cool thing.
Do you find you get punished for making snap plays? Like you need to think things through pretty carefully for the most part? Or not? Like, or is it a deck where snap plays is...
Well,
not
here's
like
the
you
thing
would
that
say
I
that's the
that
best way
I
to play?
made some mistakes on is that Ziliax heals you. So attack with your weapon first and then attack with Ziliax and get that much health. Because I was doing it the other way around, which is like a rookie mistake.
Well, it may not... I mean, it's 6 in one, half dozen the other, but if you have full health and then, you do it that way, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But
Because sometimes when you're up against another aggro deck, like every little bit of health helps. So I did have to kind of go, no, wait, do this first and then that. And there are some times when like that secret that the mage has is probably Fire Ward.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to play around that. Because yes, I do want to get as many minions out as fast as I can. But if they're all going to die next turn, that's a bit of a waste. So...
Yeah, sometimes the right play is if you suspect it and it doesn't hurt you to not go face, you just leave your minions on the board, and so when they have a board, you just trade instead of go face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an easy thing to do and then not do depending on the circumstance.
There have been
really
some times where I wanted to trade because I need to get more minion bodies on the board.
Mm. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because if your board is full of minions, you can't drop any and you can't get your quest off.
Sure.
So I just had to like make room on the board to like summon Swarm of Locusts. I want to get 7 out, not like 4.
Yeah.
So it actually kind of encourages you to like clear your board, fill your board, clear your board, fill your board. So it doesn't really matter if they put like a Doomsayer down. You're like, that's fine. I'm just going to Swarm of Locusts next turn anyway.
It seems like in this deck, Knife Juggler really is more of a late game card rather than an early game card, because I can see a lot of application where, because you can get like a la Swarm of Locusts or Hounds and things like that, where he just, Halazzi let him die, and then Knife Juggler, and then just start destroying the board with Knife Juggler.
Absolutely.
He seems like
Houndmaster
seems
Flark
like he's
even.
really, yeah, Flark too, yeah, because Flark doesn't fill the board completely, yes.
Yeah, he's got 5. Well, including himself. Like he summons 4 and then his body is 5. So you've got enough room to put another.
Oh, sweet. I already have Unseal the Vault. I was just thinking maybe I had it because I'd never played with it.
Nice.
But I must have pulled it during. So I was like, oh, I already have it. Yes, I can crack this deck without having to make any cards. That's nice.
And you have Boommaster?
Oh, yeah. I had Boommaster from day one. I wanted him really bad because I thought he was really cool. And then I was really sad that he wasn't good. But I know that in the course of time, especially with like standard cards, I don't dust them very willy-nilly unless I get full dust value for them, because I can always recraft them, right? And then it's a net 0. So
well, he's key in this because if they don't remove those bombs, they're going to attack for 2, but if they do remove them, they're still going to do damage for 2. So
oh yeah, Sophie's choice, man. You just don't there's no good option here.
Yep. You cannot avoid that boom damage.
Dat boom damage dough. Yeah, because those bombs, I mean, buffing a bomb, making it a 2/4, that's just not nice. Having a board full of 2/4s is that damned if you do and damned if you don't. You kill them, you're damned. If you don't kill them, you're really damned. So, because is the buff permanent or is it just for the turn?
It's permanent, but it's to attack. No health.
So, like, next turn, if they don't clear it, it's then going to be 4 attack?
Yes. You just keep pressing that button.
Oh.
They just keep going up.
So it's actually better than Savage Roar, because Savage Roar goes away at the end of the turn.
Yep. This is permanente.
Okay. Oh.
Everything you have on the board suddenly becomes scary.
Oh, man.
And I mean, Unleash the Hounds is lethal because they have charge. They don't have rush. If your opponent goes, I'm just going to fill the board with minions, you're like, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well played.
I know I'm giving away all the secrets to people who are playing against this, but you may not want to fill that board with Murlocs, because if they don't have taunt, you just sealed your death warrant.
Murlocs generally don't have taunt.
Yeah.
So
I don't know a single one that does.
I could see this deck just destroying like Shaman and board-centric decks if they're careless, if they're not super conservative.
Shaman does have a lot of clear.
Yeah. They do, unless they're playing Murlocs, because then they're not.
No, if they're playing Murlocs, I will probably beat them.
Although Quest Shaman could be a bit of an issue, because those lackeys are just nothing but board clear for the most part.
Exactly. I have been beaten by Quest Shaman because they also have that 2/2 that when it comes out, it deals 1 damage to all enemy minions.
Oh yeah, the elemental. It looks like a little sand tornado. I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, that
or
card.
Like Sandstorm or something.
Yeah.
And if they have the hero power, then it does twice.
That feels bad. That feels real bad. It's I think it does 1 to all minions, but because of it, then it does 2 total. Right.
I think it's just enemy minions.
No, that's what I mean. Like, that's why it feels so bad.
Yeah.
Because it's not
because they don't even kill their own stuff. Yeah.
No. It's a lot like a more amped up Maelstrom Portal.
Yeah.
I actually think it's a little better than Maelstrom Portal to a point.
I
Especially
do,
with
but
Quest.
you know what? I forget every time that it has overload.
Oh, does it really?
Yes.
Oh, I guess I never pay attention to that for some reason. I don't know why.
Like, there's been times where the next time I wanted to play Shudderwalk, and I was like, no, not enough mana. I forgot I just played that last turn and it has overload.
Feels bad, man.
Ah. But yeah, I encourage you to go to check it out. And for those, just remember those different things you can do instead of like Halazzi. I suggest it, though. It's fun.
So I'll put these in the show notes, or in the notes in the download. So when you download the show or go online, you can just copy the link. And we can put them in the Discord too as well. So
And also, if you follow Firebat, he's playing it, and he might even make some more tweaks to it along the way. Like, I like this new version of his better than his earlier one with
Sure.
Sea Giants and Houndmaster Shaw. So I don't know. You could try both and see what feels good for you. He's also like a way up at high legend, so I have no idea what he's coming up against, what he's playing
Sure.
against. So
Sure, but it seems like it's just a good strong deck in general. So, and a lot of people like Hunter, and a lot of people have a lot of these Hunter cards. So
it's
And
a
you're right.
surprising one.
you're right about a lot of the legendaries, as they are legendaries that are kind of established as good legendaries. So you may not be out too much dust, especially if you decided, like me, to get rid of the nerfed cards. And so
Yeah, I didn't feel bad about nerfing, about dusting any of them. Dusted all of
did
them.
you have them all? Did
Yeah.
you have all of them?
Actually, you know what? I ended up buying the packs. The ones that give you like one legendary and then packs from last week, the one we were encouraging people to buy.
Yeah,
And I got Luna's Pocket Galaxy out of it
yeah.
right before the nerf. I was like, free dust. Because I didn't own the card at that point.
Uh-huh. Nice.
Dusted
That
it
feels real good.
immediately.
1,600 free dust. Thank you, Blizzard. Awesome. Well, a little bit shorter show this week, ladies and gentlemen. But that's okay.
If you didn't
feel
notice,
we
I'm
covered-
sick. My voice might sound
Yeah.
a little different.
I would. You've done an excellent job hiding it because I forgot you were sick through the course of the show. So, bravo, bravissimo.
I've just been muting myself and blowing my nose.
So, Eve, when you're not blowing your nose, where can people find you?
Well, right now you can find me playing Classic WoW or Destiny 2 or Hearthstone. And you can find me on Twitter at Loremaster Eve.
If you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at WatchmanHS. I've been playing Hearthstone a fair amount. New job still inhibits me from really... even at lunch, I'm doing stuff, it seems like, so I don't play as much during the day.
No
Usually
lunch
I play at night.
Hearthstone? Oh.
Not as much. It's okay. I don't want to be antisocial at this point in time.
Right.
But
That makes
because
sense.
Hearthstone makes me very antisocial. The irony, right? But if you want to follow or check out anything Velen's Chosen related, head on over to velenschosen.com. All links to Discords and Patreons and things are there. If you want to support us monetarily with a $1 or $5 or any amount, head on over to patreon.com/Velen's Chosen podcast. We appreciate any and all support you may feel like giving us. Big shout out to our good buddy Jamie S., who has recently dived back into Hearthstone, is in full crafting, full tilt crafting mode. And he told me this week that he's just having a blast. So I'm glad he's having a blast, because WoW is fun. If you're a crafting mindset, it's the deck builder's playground. And I think a lot of the cards from the last set have been very
It looks like he's in Wild.
enabling.
In Discord?
Yeah. Wild is what he's been hanging out in. So I gave him I just overloaded his Discord channel. Me and him, I gave him like a half dozen deck lists. So anyways, I hope he's enjoying those. I think he told me a couple that he liked. Let's see here. And I think that's, if you can't support or don't want to support the show monetarily, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes if you like the show. We're open to all criticism, suggestions, anything you would like to see us talk about, do on the show, anything like that. We will not hurt our feelings. We will not be offended. As long as you're not like calling us names and stuff like that. And even in which case I probably wouldn't be offended anyways. I'd probably just ban you.
Banned.
Banned. I don't take it personally because why should I? You don't know me.
Wow, this is going down a rabbit hole, Grant. This is amazing.
I'm done. I'm out.
You're
So
doing the
Eve,
thing
sign us
I
off quick
usually
before. Sign us off quick before we get in more trouble.
Not all who wander are lost.
Well, I'm wandering. I'm not lost. I'm not lost. Just wandering. Take care, buddy.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
I foresaw this.
Did I miss it?